Ever since COVID started, quarantine began, I have walked past this certain section of squirrely part of town as part of my weekly walking regimen to get myself out and get myself moving on a regular basis. At a particular corner in town, about 3/4 of a mile from my house, there's this suspicious house that I have often wondered how it was that people have paid for it. And today I found something outside that explains maybe how that is the case. Sometimes when we see people on the corner with signs begging for money, we are suspicious of their motives, intentions, and how the money will actually be dispersed if we give it to them. On the ground in front of that house this morning, there were two of those signs they hold. Anything helps. And three or four unhealthy looking individuals all sitting out front smoking not cigarettes. And I looked at those signs and I thought about those people as I walked by because the location, the behavior, the fact that there's always someone sitting out in front of that house, and the demographics of people who I've seen going in and out of that tell me this is a drug den, and that the people who dropped these signs in front of the house are picking up money from us so we can buy drugs. The problem with entitlement and mentally deranged people is that they see their needs as the only things that actually matter. Well, with people who are addicted to drugs, this becomes something because that's all that their brain craves. And it is the only thing that really matters. Nothing else can satisfy the urges and the desires and the chemical dependencies like the drug for which they yearn. For many, many years, I have been suspicious passing by people with these signs. The freeway off ramp where I get off is usually staffed on a rotational basis by individuals who live in encampments near the freeway exit, under the trees or in the shade of the wall, where they can sit there and get their fill. This is not to say that everyone who has a sign or everyone who begs for money has only untoward intentions. This is simply a reminder that sometimes your suspicions are totally justified, and that every time this happens, it gives people who have these suspicions reason to continue to maintain them. So I pondered as I walked past this house and continued on my way to mine what I would recommend that people do as a consequence. And I came to the following conclusion. For those of you who are compassionate, concerned, and who want to help people, you do not need to feel bad about not giving any of these people any money, anytime, anywhere that you are. If you feel guilty about it, then give the money you would have given to them to some sort of charitable organization, a soup kitchen, a food pantry, a shelter, drug rehabilitation, or philanthropic organizations that put wells in foreign countries or transfer clothing to disaster areas. I didn't want to name anything specifically, but organizations where you know the money goes to help people who have a legitimate need. And that's not because I'm saying these people don't have a legitimate need. It's because those organizations have a responsibility and the men and materials necessary in order to vet those who claim they have a need. You don't have the time, the resources, or perhaps the moral turpitude to stand there and pass judgment on whether or not their petition is correct. I don't carry money with me because I got mugged in 2015. So when I pass these individuals and I feel bad, I go do something else for someone else. So for example, today on the way back to my house from where I'm currently visiting, I will stop by a church pumpkin patch and buy a pumpkin. Not because I have any interest in pumpkins and I detest Halloween, but because it's an opportunity for me to spend some money in support of a charitable organization. Next time there's a chance for me to give money or to give food, I will do that. And for Thanksgiving, I've decided, since I don't have any plans of anywhere to go, I will offer my house as a place for people to be invited who also have nowhere else to go. These are things that you can do to reach out and help that may not cost you. And they may not help the people who put up the petition, but that doesn't mean that service has to be towards those who carry signs in the freeway off-ramp. If you ignore your neighbor and do service to a stranger, If you ignore your own children and do service to strangers, I think your beneficence is largely imaginary, but your hatred for your own is wholly real. So the reminders exist that sometimes our suspicions are confirmed. But if you feel guilty and if you want to do something, there are ways you can do it and up your game elsewhere, and then let others do the vetting and feeling bad about how the money has been spent instead of you. Some of the people will not use it wisely. We cannot control that, but we can control whether we give it to an organization that gives it wisely, or at least that gives it for something in which we believe. And whether that's putting wells for water, putting schools into town, putting shoes on the feet, doing free dental work, giving free eye exams, shipping off aid to disaster relief. There are things you can do. Everyone this time of year goes downtown and hands out food for the homeless. But that doesn't mean that's the only thing that we can do, nor does it mean that food is what they're actually after. But those who are hungry will go to the soup kitchens. Those who are hungry will take the food. Those who are really in need will accept what is offered. They know where to go. And they're looking for another opportunity, in many cases like at this off-ramp near my house, to separate fools from their money. If you're concerned about giving away your money and being a fool, then decide to give it somewhere intentionally on a regular basis that matters to you. And then you don't need to feel bad about not giving it to somebody if you feel their motivations are suspect, because you might be right. But at least then you did your due diligence to make sure that the money went to an organization that will make some sort of an effort to vet the actual need. There is a need. 'Tis the season. Reach out, find a way, because one day maybe you will be the recipient. And it's good to know where you should go if you actually need help. Godspeed and good night.